Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next session that is going to be and aligning to be very interesting. So Christian is already on stage. We're going to be talking about at least for me, very different application of Node-RED in the financial space. So I am personally very curious what he has put together and what he's going to be discussing today as we dive into the Node-RED in finance application. Christian, without any further delay, could you give us a bit of an introduction of yourself and obviously talk about your application?
Thank you. My name is Christian Lagerkvist, and I spent the last 15 years in finance and banking, building and integrating bank systems. So basically everything from ledgers and payments to foreign exchange and SWIFT corporate actions and enterprise content management. At the bank, I deliberately built my personal brand around innovation and prototyping. So Fluidly, which I'm going to tell you about today, all started with a phone call from the bank's large corp division's upper management saying basically, we have a both at the Hanover Fair in 2 weeks, but nothing to show. Can you build something cool that does like microtransactions? And microtransactions at the time was the latest buzzword. When I got this phone call, I was doing a lot of 3D modeling, just hobby stuff. And when you do 3D modeling, there's this stage where you can build particle systems. And you do that through drag and drop. So you take basically a mesh object, you connect that to a particle system, and then you connect a vortex force, and then you flush it to the screen and get rain or lava or fire or anything. So the idea, playing with these things and getting that phone call at the same time, sort of boiled down to, can this be done for transactions, for financial services? Like this particle emitter, could that be a bank account? And this vortex force, could that be a transaction? Can I actually connect through drag and drop that bank account to this transactions or foreign exchange or buying FX forward or hedging products or whatever the bank has? In that case, that's a brand new way of building financial services. So 2 weeks, the closest I found to what I wanted was actually Node-RED. So I built and integrated Node-RED at the time with a robot demo that was in the next booth at the Hanover Fair, ran by Ericsson and ABB. And I didn't realize at the time what I had built. I just remember being, well, quite proud, gave myself a pat on the shoulder, and wasn't really prepared for standing in that booth from 1 week and the attention it entailed. So I got back to the bank with a bunch of business cards coming Monday, and full of confidence, thought to myself, okay, we're going to build this. We're going to make this into a real product. And building that kind of stuff within a bank it's not quite the right environment. So I gave it a few years. It was a struggle, really. And finally, I quit and went at it by myself. So rebuilding everything from scratch. And I named this talk Extending Node-RED to Finance because that's what the end product Fluidly does. So let's start with the sales pitch. So I'm going to read this loud. We understand the frustration CFO face with scattered tools causing data silos, manual data entry, and costly integrations. Imagine a financial operating system, a foundation of visual widgets, each representing a financial function. Connect them. Insights are instant, data flows seamlessly, and workflows are automated. That's Fluidly. So obviously this is targeted at finance people. So the finance department, treasury department, invoicing, procurement departments. And that's quite far from the average Node-RED user. These are business people. These do Excel sheets, the occasional dashboard. They handle charts, tables, cash flows, liquidity, forecasting, and FX risk. They have probably never heard of JSON, JavaScript, or IoT. And they definitely never came across JSON-ADA or message.payload. So there was a major design challenge, if I ever saw one, to tweak Node-RED into a pure drag and drop experience, going basically from low code to no code, where you can create and deploy financial flows that just work on the first attempt, and where we hide away anything remotely technical. Another challenge turned out to be the Node-RED philosophy around the editor. So the editor is first and foremost a flow manager, if you like, a tool in which you define and deploy flows. And any insights beyond the status of individual nodes, or if the MQTT bridge is up or down, requires you to build a dashboard. And building a dashboard is way too technical for my audience. So my design philosophy instead, accordingly, had to be these tools, the editor and the dashboard, they had to be one and the same. So basically a dashboard that is the automation, because it lets you literally pipe insights into actions. For instance, if you see an account with constantly excessive funds connected to a sweep node, or that the US dollar liquidity forecast that is pointing south connected to a hedge node, right there in the interface. So basically we're talking about a new kind of animal, a dashboard that can be worked. So it's early days, and this is my first official demo, so you better hold on to something. Demo time. Here we go. So this is Fluidly, and you recognize most of the things. I've done some tweaks to the editor, nothing on the server side though. So all the existing 5,000 plus Node-RED nodes can be just popped in here and play along with my Fluidly components. The first thing I had to do was to make components able to draw themselves, so they can convey more information than statuses. So this, for instance, this is the handled inject node that you all know. And well, you recognize the interface. It's been given a clock. And this is the amount node. So I can connect the inject node to the amount node and deploy and get numbers, basically, like that. So the whole idea evolves around showing insights in the editor and being able to piping those insights to automation. So if we take these measurements and build a small business model. So we take whatever measurement we get one every 5 seconds now, and we multiply it by 10, and then we add 17, and then we get a fictional number that we could use for anything. So this is the IoT part, and taking IoT data and transforming that into whatever business model, or performing calculations, doing that live, being able to see what happens. So the next step is to pipe this to finance. And in order to do that, we need bank accounts. So I'm going to get a demo account right here. And then I'm going to get another demo account. That little menu that you're seeing was something I built, I think maybe 12 years ago, and I thought I'd never use it, but it turned out to be great along with Node-RED. So these are 2 bank accounts. I'm currently talking to 3,000 banks across Europe, and cash accounts from 3,000 banks. So you could imagine that these are 2 accounts in the same bank or different banks. And if I want to transmit money between them, I simply connect them like that. And then I get a transaction node. And I can connect this amount to the transaction node. So if I deploy, every time we send a pulse, we will have transaction going between these 2 accounts. Sending a transaction every 5 seconds to a real bank account might turn out to be not the best idea. So what we would like to do really is to create virtual accounts. So we could pipe this into a virtual account transaction and do that in a corresponding currency. And virtual accounts are interesting per se because what they really are is just a balance holder. And I'm using the Tiger Beetle ledger, which is another startup from South Africa, and I could set any currency I want. So I could use this to measure carbon dioxide or energy if I wanted. Okay, so let's wipe away stuff and do a use case that is more geared towards pure finance. So imagine that we have transactions on this bank account that we want to share with a partner or a subsidiary or a customer or whatever. So basically a percentage of a selection of transactions. And the first thing I have to do then is to dig into this account. So I can do that by adding a filter. And filters are a core feature in Fluidly. So what we're looking at here is the account history from the 28th of September until today. And what I can do here now is connect an amount like that. And whatever I select, I will get the net cash flow of that selection in my amount node. I could also pipe this to another filter, say a category, for instance, or pipe that onto an amount filter like that, and put the amount node here instead. So whatever selection I do is constantly pushed forward in this chain of filters. So isolating transactions could be, for instance, since the October the 27th transactions with this transaction message that are positive, that's what we want to share and put into that bank account. So, as I said before, we simply pipe those together, we add the transaction, and then we also need a trigger. And you are all Node-RED users, so you're familiar with triggers. But if you're gearing something towards finance, you can't really use API triggers or have little buttons that they need to go in and remember to push at 1630 every day. So what I did was that I created a calendar trigger so they could use their Office calendar or their Google calendar. And as soon as a meeting pops up in this calendar, we will get traffic, which will result in a transaction. We could even take a category filter and put in between our calendar and say that we will only let traffic through if traffic belongs to the group revenue share, like that. And if the revenue share goes once a week, I want to set this time filter to always visualize last week, like that. And I click deploy, and what we have now is a flow that will automatically each week in 2 days time this week send 18,315 Swedish kronor from this account to that account. So I hope you get what I'm meaning when I'm talking about a workable dashboard, because we usually see these kind of components in dashboards, not connected as they are here, but so the first use case that comes to mind, what can you do with this stuff apart from revenue sharing? Well, think financial operating system. I could for instance, use it for monitoring cash flow. So in this scenario, I have a Finnish bank account in Finland, and I have a Swedish bank account at another bank. And I'm putting these bank accounts into a plus sign, meaning sum up everything, calculate new balances, and aggregate all the transactions. Usually, when you do this stuff, you need to log into each bank account, download a bank account statement in Excel, put each statement into the same Excel sheet, create some kind of pivot table, or do something to recalculate all the balances forward. I'm taking this data and piping it to a filter set to filter on last month, as well as a filter to filter on the current month. So what I can do now is compare the current month to last month and get some sort of KPI or send a notification to someone. The same goes for bank accounts of other currencies. I need to run those through an FX rate filter first. This updates every 30 minutes. And at the end of the rate filter, I can simply pipe that into the same group. So now I have 3 different accounts aggregated, calculated to the same balance, recalculated with new balances. So forecasting. In order to create a forecast based on, for instance, invoices, we need invoices. So you saw the account component. This is the ERP component. It currently connects to 10 different ERPs and gives you invoices, balance sheet, and income statement, which you can drill down into for as deep as you've done your books. So creating a forecast, I'll take this bank account like that, put it into a timeline, and take the invoices like that. So again, aggregating those 2 data sources, recalculating balances, and what we get is a forecast. So this is what my liquidity on this bank account will look like given the invoices I currently have in my ERP system. I'm going to connect these to a component that takes the lowest balance during the time period. And what we can see here now is that we will have a 426,000 excess liquidity. I'm taking that excess liquidity and creating a transaction from my cash account to a high yield account like that. And if I do that twice a week, once before paying invoices and once after paying invoices, what I've done is that this flow makes sure that I get interest for my excess liquidity 5 days out of 7 or 6 days out of 7. One interesting thing about the transaction nodes and the foreign exchange nodes is that if the amount coming in is negative, the transaction node will reverse the order or the direction of the transaction, which means that if we have a negative over liquidity, we will instead withdraw from the high yield account and put money into our cash account so we can meet the invoices for the selected time period. Good. So it turned out that I did a few early demos, and for people that operate financial flows, this is just perfect. But for people that just want to peer into financial flow, this is way too complex. So I had to build a separate dashboard anyway. I was hoping I would have to, but and then the issue came: how do we make a dashboard that is easy and user-friendly and can be operated by financial people? And the answer was to simply create a bunch of dashboard nodes. I'm going to connect the balance sheet to the P&L. I'm going to take the operating income and divide it month by month with the income statement and get my profit margin right there. So what I did was that if I group a number of nodes, this is a normal node-RED group, just a bit more fancy. I'm exposing those automatically as a dashboard. So if I go into that group, I get a dashboard link. And once I deploy my changes, I should be able to, load that link. So it's a simple shake and bake dashboard. And it's responsive all the way, and you can still go into these filters and filter whatever you want, because this dashboard remembers the connections, although you can't see them. Good. So creating new Node-RED nodes. This, for instance, is called verification of payee. It's a normal Node-RED node, but it plays nice with Fluidly. This one goes up to the Swift network and verifies payees. Automation TX, I showed you that already. Automation FX. This is something that is running live and doing end-to-end cash sweeps for a large exchange located in the Nordics. So basically one simple foreign exchange for the entire company group and spitting out everything to subsidiary account. So this is a large corp example, and if you don't understand this, don't worry. It took me a few weeks to get it as well. But it serves to say that using Node-RED for finance can be applied from the smallest company that just wants rate on access liquidity to large corp stock exchanges doing daily end-to-end zero balancing account sweeps. Back to the presentation. So these are the components I just showed you. We have this one, for instance. This is an amount trigger. It triggers traffic if an amount goes up and down. And you can connect this one to either your bank account, if amount exceeds whatever, or you could connect it to the FX rate component. If rate goes above 0.78, do something, move money, or send me a notification, or whatever. And following is just in the slideshow. I just showed you those. We're a 3-person startup. I'm the only one working full time. And I'll conclude by saying thank you. And this is the homepage, my email address, and my LinkedIn address, should you like to connect. Thank
Christian,
you.
thank you so much. Really interesting presentation. You have received a lot of high compliments, especially on the UI side and obviously the business cases that you've presented. Again, if we don't get to answer all of the questions, please reach out to Christian, as he just shared his LinkedIn email. Reach out to him if we cannot bring all of them in. First question for you is, do you have any concerns about the limitations of JavaScript as a language and how it handles perhaps some of the numerical operations that are...
This is a pet peeve of mine. I had this
Yes.
discussion with bank colleagues thousands of times. I have yet to find a use case where floats doesn't do the job. Those use cases are usually if you do number crunching, if you do simulations, if you do anything algorithmic that involves piping the result into itself. I wouldn't use JavaScript for that, but for this, I mean, we need 2 digits most of the time. When we're dealing with FX, we can sometimes use 5 or up to 6 digits. If we add another 2 or 3 digits just to be on the safe side when we're doing rounding and when we are adding things together, I'd say it's safe.
Gotcha. Understood. How are you, I guess, working with companies currently looking to leverage your solution? Are you letting them customize everything on their own? Are you building custom flows for them, or are you having like templatized solutions that they can just deploy for their specific use cases?
I'm building the stuff for them for the moment. I don't have enough material on the homepage to teach how to build these financial flows. But the goal is, of course, that they should be able to roll everything themselves. And you're talking about blueprints, and that's the next major thing that I have to get into. I mean, for me, it's easy to. I built this, so building flows comes second nature. But to someone who never saw it before, I mean, I've done some user testing, and when you put a user in front of just a black canvas, they have no clue what to do. So, yeah, coming.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. I'm sure
early days.
as they gain experience, they can start building their own flows, but maybe at the beginning it is a little bit complex of a learning curve, so to speak. Next question is, how are you handling integrations to different banks, in Europe, in North America? Because obviously APIs are notoriously not
Yeah,
the best, so to speak, in those monoliths. So curious if
yeah.
there's, pipelines already available or you're just working on them still.
I'm using an account integrator for integrating to accounts within the European Union. In the European Union, we have legislation from 2016 called PSD2 that says that if you're on a bank, you're going to have to let people get account information and initiate transactions freely. I Some parts of the world have come further. The US is a bit behind. The UK is a bit in front of the European Union, and Singapore is way in front. But I still haven't gotten around to integrating, for instance, UK bank accounts. So
Gotcha.
if you're listening and if you want to have an interest and take part of that as a tester or whatever, get in touch.
Awesome. I know you've mentioned some larger entities that can obviously benefit from this. I believe there's a use case to be made for perhaps even contractors or smaller businesses looking to create, I want to say, simpler solutions, write their own like P&L or financial statements, or even just basic bookkeeping that they would like to have better of a handle than just an Excel spreadsheet. Are there opportunities, or I guess, do you see that being a potential user base for you as well, or are you really targeting sort of the larger companies on the financial side?
I'm leaning more towards smaller companies. I mean,
Okay,
we're a 3-man band, and getting your feet into those sort of mega corporations with a new name, a new brand, and untested technology, simply not going to happen. So we're going to have to grow organically, um, uh, crunching bigger and bigger customers as we go along.
gotcha.
So SMEs, yes. Midcorp, yes.
Understood. Last question for you, as I'm sure many are curious, is how far have you pushed this, right? Obviously, you can tie this into your own banking system and you can perform trades. Have you been able to test certain workflows where you trade based on current market data, where you're pulling in information in addition to your own assets, but also, again, making purchases, making sales? And sort of benefiting from that sort of arbitrage via your system?
I haven't, but all of a sudden you can integrate your bank accounts with 5,500 components and counting. So you could take any market data, you can take weather data and create forecasts and act on those forecasts. So I'm trying to create the operating system, the components that are needed, and that they talk to each other And that's, well, I got my hands full doing just that, really. So great
Awesome.
question.
That's awesome. And I guess for someone who's looking to maybe try this out or sees an opportunity to work with this, you've shared your information, but hopefully there will be some more interesting use cases. And I'm personally very interested as well. So truly appreciate the talk. And we'll see everybody in the next one in just a minute. Thank you so much, Christian. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.